Hello guys, Forristicat here. I'll try and get used to this new camera. Well, I'm using my iPad here. Because yes, I'm not at my usual apartment, I'm at my grandmother's house. Once more, just spending time with her over Easter. And as I mentioned in the previous Bioshock sort of pre-completion thoughts, opinions and reviews, you know, Bioshock Infinite is a game that I would want to talk more about. And having just completed it about 20 minutes ago, you know, I can give my sort of first initial reactions having completed it. So first and foremost, yeah, it must be said that the storytelling in this, well, the story in this game is pretty much a 10 out of 10. So just when I thought like the story wasn't going to get any more sort of complicated or sort of like more in depth, sort of more more confusing, more interesting, more intriguing. Just when I think like a twist wouldn't happen, like it always kept on going more and more towards areas which I did not expect the game to go. And that must be said straight away, like Bioshock Infinite, like if only every single game that we played, you know, story-wise was as good as the story in this game here, then, you know, we'll be playing like a lot of fantastic games that we'll be immersed in, and that, in my opinion, we would have enjoyed a lot more. But I don't want to talk too... Well, I want to have a balance, more of a balance in my review, sort of talk about like the negative things about the game, and I guess it really sort of comes down to like the interplay between the gameplay and the storytelling. So for example, say like a moment happens where, you know, like Elizabeth is sort of angry at DeWitt. Then like 30 seconds later she goes, here, have some coins. Now this is like a, you know, like a gameplay element which, you know, she's obviously helping you throughout the game, helps develop your relationship with her throughout the game. But nevertheless, it is very jarring to sort of like when she's angry at you and then she's like helping you all of a sudden. So I'm not a technical guy, but like if they could somehow make the games that at those key moments, stuff like that doesn't happen. It just sort of like doesn't make any sense that she's angry at you, then she's helping you all of a sudden. What else? I guess sometimes, and this has happened, you know, in many games, you'll be like listening to like say like in this case like one of those recordings, and then like in the distance you'll hear someone else talking, and like both will be playing sort of like over the top of one another. Also, I think sometimes the audio sort of kicked in a little bit too low, so the only way I could sort of find out if these like what the person was saying was by turning the subtitles on. But maybe that's my sound system or whatever. But sometimes I found that the audio was a little bit too low, so it was hard to discern what people were saying. What else? Yes, this game does have some glitches. So graphically, sometimes like weapons would be like hovering around, sort of in midair, sort of thing. And as I mentioned in my previous pre-completion review, or yeah, whatever, sometimes like certain triggers will not get triggered off. So like Elizabeth couldn't pick locks because it says she's in combat even though she wasn't, so I had to redo an entire section. And yeah, sometimes I got stuck in between sort of, you know, equipment. And I guess, okay, I really do not know what to say. I mean, like, okay, another review said, like, you know, in the middle, this game is sort of, feels sort of padded. But, like, the ending really sort of brought it home. Perhaps, like, with Elizabeth's relationship with this bird, it could have sort of been fleshed out a bit more exactly, what happened or how she sort of, how he cared for her or whatever. But there was definitely something like sort of beautifully incongruent about like there's a massive beast and then she's like petting the beast and then like its eyes changes colour from red to green and then like obviously like it tears down the whole sort of statue of Elizabeth there, or like whoever that, you know, the siphon or whatever, which destroys all of yeah, what do you call it, Columbia. Yeah, so now I sort of realised that later on, having all these sort of flashbacks to music, which was specifically from the 1980s, references, yeah, in 1984, how the alternate realities where Columbia comes back and sort of rains fire down on New York City, which is of course the dream that Booker DeWitt had. Incidentally, I thought the voice of Booker DeWitt was what's the name? The same guy that does the voice of the guy from Uncharted, but it's apparently Troy Baker or something like that. Nevertheless, yeah, that sort of like was the really wow moment for me, where like when she's like, "Take my hand," and then all of a sudden, boom, you see her like old, and you see like New York City in the 80s just totally being barraged by all this crap from like Comstock's or Columbia's what do you call it, Zeppelins. And I was like, wow, that's sort of really shocking. And like I said before, anything which sort of can link you to, you know, this reality in terms of like, you know, oh, I've been to that place. That's where like I was really excited in Mass Effect 3. Where it's like, oh cool, we get to go to London and stuff like that, you know, like we get to sort of like see Earth being attacked, like things that can connect you to things in this world. And of course that can't be done all the time, like obviously if something is happening in like a fantastical land, there can't be a direct connection there, but then you can develop connections through other things, like if someone is feeling something else that you have felt or that you know someone else has felt, or of course like a character's like, yep, I can relate to that, or something that reminds you of someone, stuff like that. But in terms of like Earth locations or music you've heard, when you experience that in a game, it really does help you connect you to the experience. And yeah, in my opinion, it bumps the enjoyment factor up a couple of notches whilst you're playing it. So yeah, the whole time travel aspect of when they first sort of hinted at, like when she opens up the tear to Paris, I'm like, wow, this is... I always get like a Danger Will Robinson sort of signal in my head, like, okay, this can either be like a really good storytelling opportunity, or if they fumble about too much, it could, yeah, fall flat on its face. I think in this regard, even though I don't fully understand everything, I think if I thought about it, enough of the pieces are there. And of course, yeah, the shock ending of sort of Booker DeWitt being, yeah, Comstock in one alternate reality was sort of hinted at, because I think, yeah, definitely... on a couple of these voiceovers of Comstock towards the end, how you hear Comstock's voice breaking, and it interjects with Booker's voice. I picked this up a couple of times. I'm like, okay, this is foreshadowing. I wouldn't be surprised if Booker is somehow Comstock, and it sort of made sense because it's like they were building up Booker's character to be so great. I'm like, okay, what is the payoff here? I'm like, the only payoff greater than him being this revolutionary, because the story hadn't finished yet. I'm like, the only other thing that this could be is if he is Comstock himself. So I was right in that regard. So I do like being surprised, but in that regard, yes, I did pick up on that. I thought it would be nice if they would do a return to Rapture, and I did not expect them to, but lo and behold, you know, you see Rapture again right at the end, and that is fantastic. Whenever you can connect trilogies, assuming this is a trilogy, or whenever you can connect stories together to sort of like pay homage to the fans, even as far as, you know, to put like machines there from the first two games, that was incredible. So that was a really good way to link all the stories together, albeit it didn't really make sort of like sense story wise. Like, okay, let's get them to their, I don't know, I guess like with the sort of lighthouse thing, like she's saying the stars are just lighthouses, portals to different worlds, stuff like that. But I guess, even though it was cool to see Rapture, it did seem a little bit forced that she just happened to take Booker there. But regardless, you know, it was very cool seeing it. So I'm just sitting on my knees, so I'm just moving around a lot. It's pretty uncomfortable here. What else can I say? Yeah, definitely the whole ending of how he's, how Comstock dies initially, like the whole baptism, like, you know, like shoving his head in the sort of baptism basin there. That's very, you know, relevant and ironic that he died that way. And yeah, like all the different versions of Elizabeth's sort of holding him down and, you know, killing him is yeah, that's sort of, I didn't really expect that to happen, but until right at the very end where he's like, yeah, I have to kill Comstock, and I'm like, okay, assuming Booker is Comstock, he's somehow going to either kill himself. And actually right there at the end where he's at his desk, I thought like he had to search the desk. I thought like he would pick up a gun and he would just shoot himself there. But I think this way is sort of much more impactful, how you see like just all the different versions of Elizabeth drowning him. And of course, if you stay throughout the credits, there at the end, you see like a movie of like the artistic team recording, I think, that song that I mentioned before, when you're sort of in the bar and you sort of get that guitar playing and she starts singing about the city in the sky. I think it's like the full version though, but I think that must be on the soundtrack or something like that. But yeah, they just have that excerpt there when you pick up the guitar in the one of the downtown bars in one of the slums there. Like I mentioned, you pick up the guitar, you start playing it. But then after that credit sequence, yeah, you have like another sequence where he's back in his New York detective apartment, and he opens the door again. He's like, "Anna, are you there?" So I guess you've got that whole sort of like never-ending sort of loop always happening. I feel like that the Lutece characters, so you got the brother and sister there, they were comical. They were sort of like comic relief, but I really didn't feel like they fit into this sort of like otherwise serious storyline. Like I think they were sort of like a little bit annoying to me personally, and I don't really fully understand their sort of role in the story yet. So, and this is the thing, like, since I just completed this game, I'm still processing the story. I can't actually say if that's just crappy story writing or like a plot contrivance, if you will, or if I just don't understand it fully yet. But I'll think about it and sort of like, because they're at the end, they're there sort of talking right at the very end where they're sort of going back to the lighthouse to take Booker back to one of these alternate realities. But nevertheless, seeing all the stars at the end was great. I was like, wow, I wonder where this is going. I almost thought that the Bioshock 2 trailer music, The Sea of Dreams, was starting to play there, but I'm not sure about that. The whole idea, like stars, like just lighthouses in the sky which lead to alternate realities, I thought that was great. Like seeing like the whole sky full of stars was pretty nice. The ending was good. I thought we were going to actually like have a final confrontation with Comstock and actually kill him, but usually, like you have these like big boss. Actually, there are no big boss battles. Like your boss battles are really the one right at the end where you're sort of attacking the flagship and you're telling the Raven what to attack. But I thought you would actually have to somehow defeat the Raven yourself, or even like maybe control the Raven to destroy the city. I guess a regret is I would have liked somehow, if it served the story, to fully see like Columbia crash to the ground somewhere, or like really just like tear Columbia up from the roots and just like see it smash down somewhere, like in I don't know, in a safe place down on Earth. But nevertheless, and I guess as a closing thought, even though I think I've got more than 16 minutes now, because I sort of extended. I didn't realize you could like verify your YouTube account to get more minutes or whatever. But yeah, with 3 minutes to go for the time being, and I'll probably put in one more sort of review. Although it'll take me a couple of days for me to upload this video. Just the themes that these games explore. They're sort of not really touched upon in many video games. Like it's a very introspective, philosophical, confusing, time shifting, like holding the mirror up to yourself and touching on themes of God, life after death, baptism, resurrections, sins. Can you ever forgive oneself for all the terrible things you've done? Demons, angels, all these sort of like religious and sort of like spiritual subtopics, and all of this really is a testament to the writing. Like a lot of these recordings in the game, and that's another thing, like all good video games should encourage exploration, and for me, I was purposely going around sort of exploring as much as I could of the environments to get every single recording I could, because it did add to the story. The voice acting was great, and I think I got about like 77 out of 80, so I think a couple of those I must have missed, but a couple of those recordings are in really hard places, like you wouldn't see unless you went right up to the safe, and like it's tucked in this really weird place. But nevertheless, I guess that's my main sort of closing thought for this game. I will give it a score though. The score I will give it is 9 out of 10. I think the only things that detracted was, like I said, like I need to process the story a little bit more. But the ending of the story was very satisfying. It's a very ambitious story. The story is, well, I did say 10 out of 10, but I'm not sure if all the pieces are there to put it together. But I will let it digest and sort of give my final thoughts on the story, in the final part of this review, part 3. But yeah, in terms of like I said, I don't really think of video games as video games anymore, more like experiences. Yeah, this video game was definitely like a joy to play. Very dark, made you think about a lot of things. The the voice recordings and like just the dialogue and writing. Yeah, there's a couple of like really interesting one-liners in there that, you know, obviously the writers there have thought about a lot and put into this story. So writers, I think, above all else, like, you guys have done a fantastic job making a story that, geez, I wouldn't have been able to come up with at all. But fantastic, fantastic game. I'm glad I played it. I only play good games now, so Bioshock Infinite, definitely a fantastic game. 9 out of 10. I'll stop this review now and come back with my final thoughts on part 3. Thank you guys. See you, Columbia, out.